40 years ago, hardcore fans discovered a secret level in Super Mario Bros. That even the programmers didn't know existed. The game pulled pipes and colors from its memory and arranged them without knowing what it was making. That may be the best way to understand Kane Parsons' Backrooms, and maybe even his YouTube lore. In exploring this, we will look at how the film combines three of our greatest fears along the way. The fear that nothing inside us is truly private, that there may actually be no way out, and that ordinary places can suddenly stop feeling safe. Before Clark actually finds his entrance into the Backrooms, we in the audience already know that it's well aware of him. Clark manages to get here by a door that opens inside his failing furniture store, and on the other side he finds more furniture? Furniture that looks right, but when you inspect it, it doesn't even work the way it should. But also inside of here, we see advertisements and pieces of his professional life scattered throughout this empty maze. On first watch, you may wonder if Clark filled the Backrooms with his thoughts when he entered the complex. However, the fact that he finds the async researcher's badge and equipment, the same researcher from the intro who we see wandering around the complex while Clark's sales flyers dangle from the ceiling, this shows that Clark's world was present here before he ever found that glimmer of light behind his wall. Clark's rising electricity bill also suggests that the connection between worlds may have been active before he discovered it. At first, Clark's subconscious seems like the obvious source to explain how this liminal hell is decorated with his life. But to me, things get complicated when he finds a creature known as a still life that resembles a man in a striped shirt.
Who are these people?
This place builds them. Or actually more like it remembers them. And the more times it remembers something, the less it does. Somewhere out there is a guy in a striped shirt, but in here he's remembered. Just slightly wrong.
Later, Clark's therapist, Mary, enters the Backrooms, and then pieces of her life begin appearing as well. If these are the rules, we understand that even being near the Backrooms allows it to siphon memories to create its content. But what if the memories are more external than that? There's a chance that Clark may not be creating the Backrooms through his subconscious. He's certainly not the only one. Maybe he's simply one of many people that this world is reading at any given moment. If the Backrooms is pulling bits and pieces from different areas, then what if its greatest resource is larger than just Clark's mind? Looking at it with a cosmic horror twist, I'm vaguely reminded of a creature from H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, Azathoth, the blind, sleeping god whose unconscious dream maintains reality. In my own headcanon, the Backrooms could be the broken subconscious of some blind idiot god, half remembering humanity from whatever fragments reach it. Going back to Clark, he spends his life running from failure and accountability. He's a man who has been suffering from a nasty, drawn-out divorce. In life, he couldn't achieve his dreams of being an architect, something he blamed his wife for, telling her he needed to stay in this furniture business to sustain them while she went to school.
I'd like to know, what do you think happens if you do manage to graduate? You know, you pop out a kid and then you leave me with the bill. Or am I stuck at home changing diapers because you're too busy working for the first time in your life?
But after she left, and with no one to blame anymore, Clark continues with the furniture store. Inside the Backrooms, his business and architectural fantasies might be here someplace, but no one can challenge him or demand that he face what went wrong. But that returns us to our next fear. This fear is tied to a machine and a mock prison that it creates. The machine I'm talking about, believe it or not, is the original Nintendo Entertainment System. A game like Super Mario Bros. Doesn't understand that a pipe is a pipe or that a Goomba is an enemy. The cartridge just stores a bunch of data and code. The console then follows instructions telling it when to use that data and where it belongs. When those instructions are read correctly, the result is the game we know. Mario runs through the world we know and love, constantly following a set of very specific rules. But the console has no idea what any of this means. If the game sends it looking in the wrong place, the system doesn't stop to ask, does any of this make sense? It just uses whatever information it finds and keeps going. The most famous example of all of this is the Minus World, a hidden underwater level players can reach through a popular glitch. Mario clips through a wall and reaches a warp pipe before the game correctly pinpoints where that pipe should lead. The console sends him somewhere the creators never intended the player to go. It's a normal looking water level on the surface, but it gets pretty weird when you reach the end of the level. The exit pipe does not take Mario to the next world. It sends him back to the beginning of the same area. The game has built a world with no working conclusion. Mario can keep moving, but he will never, ever find the end. Similar to another ever-expanding world of yellow that I'm sure we're all very familiar with. The console doesn't know that Mario is trapped. As far as the machine is concerned, it read the data and did exactly what it was told. Mario is now trapped. Interestingly, there's another experiment that gets weirder and still resembles the Backrooms. Normally, the final castle in World 8-4 ends when Mario touches an axe and drops Bowser into the lava. If that axe is replaced with an ordinary flagpole, the game attempts to continue into World 8-5, a level Nintendo never created. Now the console needs information for a world that doesn't exist. It then interprets whatever data comes next as instructions for a level. Pipes appear in crazy colors, these vine things become blocks, and eventually Mario starts on a level that just times out immediately. Some areas still resemble the base game, but others look like a misremembered version of the original. Watching these levels be played through, it just seems to become less and less stable as it progresses. Nothing on screen is totally wrong. The colors, tiles, enemies, and shapes are all things that are normally stored inside the game, sometimes on other level types, but still part of the game's asset list. The console remembers the pieces, but has lost the understanding of what those pieces were for. Sound familiar? The Backrooms doesn't need to invent a new universe. It already has fluorescent lights, mushy carpet, wallpaper, sales flyers, and human faces. The individual pieces are correct, for the most part. It's just that the world they create is not. Like the NES, the Backrooms appears to be reading memory as construction assets. The console shows us how a machine can build a broken world without realizing anything has gone wrong. But that still does not explain why people leave the movie and keep seeing it everywhere they go.
Dude, I just finished watching the Backrooms, and I walk out, and it's just completely empty, bro.
What is strange about these clips is that people are less concerned with monsters and are instead talking about the locations. No one is mentioning the really cool pirate or thinking they see him creeping around the corner. It's all about empty locations, quiet areas, and a theater after a late night showing. Places they have seen before now feel like the Backrooms. As we've discussed, the objects within Backrooms are lacking in functionality. They're missing the human touch. Parsons even manages to do this with locations that on their face seem mundane. When Clark seeks out his employees, hoping to attain their help with the Backrooms, their apartment is worth noting. Bright orange accent paint on the outside of an apartment block. The colors are plausible, sure, and the building itself is believable, but apartments are usually designed to appeal to as many people as possible, which often means safe colors are repeated across pretty generic architecture. Here, the bold paint coats identical units, creating something beautiful, but totally unreal. You may not have words to explain why something like this stands out so much when watching, but your mind is absorbing this feeling that screams to you that something is wrong here. Then you leave the theater and maybe you see a real building using similar vibrant colors. Maybe you walk through a supermarket after most stores have closed. Maybe you step into a fluorescent hallway and no one else around. These places have always been present and abundant, but now they belong to a category your mind did not have before. That's why some people go home thinking more about empty buildings than they do about the 7-foot-tall pirate. A monster belongs to the cinema. Hallways, offices, theaters, and apartment buildings, these are part of your life. The movie gives us a reason to sort those places according to its rules. The NES built a broken Mario world from game assets, and the Backrooms builds a broken version of our world from human memory. After watching the film, your brain gets programmed in recognizing an old universal feeling that now has a new name. After seeing enough of these lonely and desolate hallways, apartments, and buildings, you start to fill in the gaps yourself. Honestly, if this video has done its job, then the Backrooms has probably already started to follow you home. Maybe tomorrow you'll walk into some poorly lit hallway, maybe you'll find yourself in a grocery store with no people, or maybe you'll enter a hotel with some odd yellowish wallpaper, and then you'll think, oh yeah, that's great. And if you see a green pipe in the middle of that hallway, yeah, that's probably my fault.